A very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the agenda. My name is Toiwan Jebela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Professor Joseph Diescho. He's a Namibian luminary, he's a Namibian academic, and he is here to help us digest and just understand his views on a number of issues in the country, hoping, of course, that we can tap from his thoughts going forward. Thank you very much, Prof. It's the first time that I'm having you in studio. I've had you on the platform before. It was virtual, but it's such a great time, a great moment to have you here with me.
The honor is mine.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's talk, Prof, maybe just from the early days. You know, you are one of the people who helped shape the narrative, I think especially in the 80s, around Namibia's independence. You worked as a journalist, as a radio, as a TV reporter, if I'm right. And eventually, independence came in 1990. What were the aspirations and the thoughts in that moment to say, by 2025, what kind of society did you picture we are going to have? And did we live up to those aspirations?
Thank you so much. In the 80s, when we became student activists, the juice was to belong to the story of the struggle for independence. Yeah. To such an extent that we as young people from high schools and later universities in South Africa and additionally the academy here, there was absolutely no consciousness that we belonged to tribes.
Yeah.
We were Namibian students. We stood on the shoulders of those who went before us, who campaigned for independence in South Africa. People like Daniel Chongarero, Reinhard Rukoro. So when the time came for us to orchestrate our energies towards unity, the inspiration was the liberation struggle. Yeah. We did not even pay attention to the smaller parties that were in existence. We were internationalists, as it were.
Yeah.
Very, very committed to the struggle to support the leadership that was fighting for independence. So we did not get paid for it. We did not get sponsorship for it. We use our own meager means to go to Deborah and attend meetings. Sometimes organizations, and particularly churches, would chip in to help us. But the spirit was one Namibia, one nation in our lifetime.
Absolutely. And that mantra remains, but the situation on the ground sometimes suggests otherwise. At what point in this trajectory did we start sort of, everybody delving into different directions? Because there's no doubt, Prof, that today tribalism and that identity is more pronounced today than it was.
Subliminally, it started around 1972 when SWAPO was recognized by the United Nations as the sole and authentic representative of the Namibian people. That galvanized some tribal instinct here to say we are also Namibians and all that. After independence, it would appear that the leadership that was the harbinger, if you will, of our independence, forgot the original purpose of the struggle. To unite Namibians from disparate tribal enclaves, different histories. And these are the histories that apartheid took advantage of to divide us further and further. After independence, we became victims of what Frantz Fanon calls the crime of intellectual laziness. We stopped thinking about what the kind of Namibia that we wanted now that we were in power. And now the struggle became the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. Everybody for himself and God for us all.
I mean, in the early days of independence, Prof, I don't know whether that was by design. Of course, it ought to have been by design rather than by default. That President Nuyoma tried, if you look at the makeup of his first cabinet, in terms of ethnic demographics, even racial demographics.
Absolutely.
There was an element of inclusivity, but as time went, it looks like a few people just started falling by the wayside.
Absolutely.
And some groups became more dominant. What is your point on, your input on that?
If you consider the mantra, for lack of a better word, that Tatekulu Nuyoma pursued, that of uniting Namibia, he was really committed to it.
Yeah.
It would appear to me that of all the leaders we have had thus far, Nuyoma was the only one with a template for what Namibia ought to have become. And that began not only after independence. He led a struggle from different types of people and make them believe that we will be independent one day as one nation. As a matter of fact, what you are alluding to is the policy of reconciliation. The policy of reconciliation from SWAPO's side was not a matter after independence. SWAPO decided, I think as far back as 1986 or a bit later, in Angola, that if we become the government, national reconciliation will be the path to go.
Yeah.
However, the fault line in that, they limited it to race, black, white. Yeah. They did not push it further to encompass the Namibian landscape. We were not one nation before. We were not even desirous to be one nation due to ignorance, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So SWAPO did not pursue the agenda of nation building. They assumed that we were a nation already. If you look at the trajectories of other nations, there were leaders who were totally committed to creating a new personality. We haven't had in Namibia that thrust, that vigor, that we want to create a Namibia different from the one we came upon. We don't have that even now. That's why in the absence of that ideological center, people move back to their primordial instincts of tribe, because that's where trust is, that's where faith is.
And speaking of just national reconciliation, even when confined just to the race element, have we bridged the gap? Is there more that can be done? I mean, we have, in South Africa, the tensions are just getting higher and higher. People saying, the land doesn't belong to blacks necessarily. We were all just fighting wars. Whoever won. We don't owe you anything. And there are remnants of that in Namibia also. And then there are these policies South Africans are saying is race-based policies to reverse the apartheid rules. Have we even succeeded in that reconciliation path?
We are doing better.
Yeah, it's Namibia.
Yes, we are doing better, and it's not due to the leadership. It's the makeup of the Namibian person.
Yeah.
We are not by nature angry. And it has to do with the experiences we have had with our migration from wherever we came, settling here. Yeah. We found our habitats here, and we made peace with the soil and the animals and the rains. So we were never really abused like other nations in the world. Yeah. The foundational communities, the Hereros and the Namas, were abused. But the rest of us were quite okay. My father would not remember one day when a white person kicked him.
Yeah.
So you have to convince him that white people are bad. Yeah. That's not his experience. Yeah. They are nice. They brought the church. They brought the sugar. They brought the salt. They brought the shoes. They brought lights. So what are you talking about? And we have not leveraged, if you will, that reservoir of goodwill in Namibia Take, for example, the imbalance we have in our tribal makeup. Tatekulu Nyoma and others who were the high priests of our freedom understood that which other African leaders on the continent did not understand or appreciate. Tatekulu Nyoma would assemble his team of cabinet and would feel inadequate. No, there is no person from the so-called San people. Where are the Tswanas? There's no Kavanga, and would go out of his way to find them. That gesture is what set us on the path of peace that we have today. If the Awambo were not as generous as they are, we would have had a civil war. Because in other parts of Africa, the majority would just say, forget the minority, we rule. We just subjugate them to our will. But in Namibia, there was this understanding that I am because the others are, and without them, I will not be complete, sufficient, and successful. And we're not working with that mantra of Nyoma. Nyoma was big. He was not educated as we think today, but he had it here, and he had it here. Leaders don't need to have degrees. Leaders are appointed in the providence of God to guide and inspire others to be better human beings and to live better in the community.
Yeah. Even his policy, Professor, founding president's policy of black economic empowerment, I think some would say that it was well meant. It was meant to be a broad-based, genuine empowerment. What it has turned out to be, in the eyes of many, is a system that has created a new black elite that is just as exploitative as the whites of the past. We are not sharing that little cake with the rest of society, because if you give the good professor here fishing quota or his mining concessions, where is the element of community in that? That somehow it's just the professor builds his mansion in the village, flies his family to Dubai every now and then. I mean, what is faulty with this system?
The embrace as such of the policy of black economic empowerment was a misnomer in our context. We borrowed it from the struggle in South Africa, who borrowed it from the struggles of the civil rights movement in America with affirmative action. When President Lyndon Baines Johnson pushed the idea of affirmative action in America after the death of Kennedy, he meant lowering the standards to include those who were excluded. He gave the example in the White House. If you have two children running a race, the one has the right shoes, the right breakfast, the right everything, and the other does not have shoes, and you put them on the race to run, you must be sensitive that the child who did not have the readiness will slow down the one who has the readiness. So therefore, you may have to tie a stone on the foot of the one who has shoes so that they run slowly, so that the other can catch up. It was a very deliberate understanding that the majority in the United States, the whites, needed to make room to include the minority. Now, you can't use that logic here. You can't expect the minority to include the majority. We ought to have come up with our own formula. After all, both in South Africa and Namibia, you would find the ratio of 1 white person to 8 black people. Why is it necessary for the 8 to make a law to regulate 1? Why can't they just run? and let the minority belong to the culture of the majority. It's a consequence of black inferiority complex. We felt inadequate, that unless we say something that will soften the anxiety of white people, we cannot do it. You don't need to worry about it. Race is not a marker of leadership or intelligence, but it was overplayed by white racist practitioners that by virtue of having a lighter skin, a straighter hair, God endowed you with qualities to control resources. That means, again, we did not think it through. The difficulty with African leaders is they take too much for granted. Building a nation is deliberate. You have to sit down and say, this is what we want, and this is what we have. These are the people we're going to work with. You have to answer the national question. What are our threats, both internally and externally? I haven't heard that debate in Namibia.
Well, you spoke, I think, at the University of Mpumalanga not too long ago, and you touched a little bit on that topic to say that there has to be some sort of harmony, essentially tapping from the strengths of each other. White people, perhaps by virtue of history, have some advantages, skills and whatnot, education. Again, it came by design. But to throw it away, to throw all that away and say, oh, now it's just time for black people now, and ignore to take care of that community so that it continues to also feed into our well-being, is a bit dangerous. If you can expand on the point you were making.
The point I was attempting to make, if you will, in South Africa is to give them an understanding of why things are as they are and how they evolved to the extent that South Africa, 30 years after freedom, is still suffering the same consequences in terms of race relations, inadequacy of resources. Research would indicate that there is a manner in which we have to interrogate our realities differently. There are certain things, perhaps, that people who are designated as white can do better than those of us who are designated as black. And it's not racism. Right? It's just understanding your makeup. If you look at the car engine, there are pipes that are smaller, there are pipes that are longer. They all contribute to the engine that powers the vehicle. If I was a policymaker in Namibia, I would have been very deliberate about arranging race relations. At one point, I think it was in Ongwediva, I played a funny joke with the class, asking them, how many population groups do we have in Namibia? They say Basters, Colors, and that. So okay, now let's do this. Let's decide today that we kill all the Basters. Will Namibia miss anything? Will Namibia lack anything? Yes. So what will Namibia lack? Beauty. Elegance. People who can build. Construction workers. And the colored, oh no, they are reliable builders. Now let's kill all the whites. Whoa. We'll suffer. We'll not have anything to eat. So that's what I was looking for. That means there is a sense in which we understand that we do not have the same gifts, all of us. Look at boxing right now. If you look at the current boxers that have made it today, where are they from in the majority?
Black.
From where? From which tribe?
Locally or internationally?
Locally.
I think Bambusa.
Hey, now let's look at soccer players. Where are they from?
Herreros.
Okay.
And Damaras.
Hey, Therefore, I cannot, from where I sit, understand that Namibia, 35 years after freedom, does not have a sports academy based in Tsumkwe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Where you identify those people who have a oneness, if you like, with nature.
Yeah.
You give them the right diet, the right shoes, the right orientation, they would outperform the Ethiopians. So one of the failures of African leadership is talent identification, talent development, and talent management. And that you can see across the board. When we appoint ministers, we appoint ambassadors, there is no identification of talent. We just send people we know. That's the African syndrome.
And that is...
just that in South Africa, I was alerting them that which Mr. Nelson Mandela understood. If you don't work with those who create and manufacture that which make our life meaningful, you go back to the days of Nongqawuse Mhlakaza, when Sir George Grey played a number on the Xhosas and ended up killing themselves and dying of hunger. South Africa is not the biggest country on the continent. It's not even the richest, but it's the most industrialized. Vision 2030 of Namibia said, by the year 2030, Namibia will be an industrialized nation. That means Namibia will look white, basically. Yet we're not doing what it takes. Look at Zimbabwe when white people left. South Africa when white people. It's sad, it sounds racist, but it is sad. Without the white mind, we cannot yet run factories and farms. My friend Chika Onyani, may his soul rest in peace, who wrote that book, The Capitalist Nigger, makes a point that if you, as a black Namibian, wants to run a successful company, hire a white manager to run it for you. If you hire a manager from Okalongo, no one will believe that you are successful. So that mindset has to be dislodged and addressed on purpose with programs and systematic agendas to undo it. It didn't come naturally. It was fabricated by history.
In fact, that is exactly that the emphasis that I wanted to make, to say that it's not a genetic thing per se, but it's because of experiences.
Contextual.
Yes, because I'm told that the Afrikaners, when they came here first, they were really in a bad condition. They were ignorant, they were poor, destitute, but through deliberate programs, they were then thrust into things like farming, and over generations, they then become what
including the enterprise of burying the dead. I have asked many Namibians, when you go to funerals of VIPs and those who are better known, you see green. It's Nambob. What is Nambob? They cannot explain. Nambob was an Afrikaner enterprise started by Mr. du Toit as far back in 1918, elaborated 1942, to bury poor white people. The Afrikaners did not trust the English to bury them with decency. So they said, let's bury ourselves. We make our own coffins. It's Afrikaanse verbond, begrafenis en ondernemingsbeperk. For Afrikaners, how can you cannot translate that into Namibia, verbond, begrafenis en ondernemingsbeperk. Again, we don't think things through. You cannot convince me that the government could not have sponsored a few black people to create a massive undertaking enterprise to bury the dead. As a matter of fact, the caskets in which we bury our VIPs are from Bloemfontein and Mpumalanga. South Africa can ask for its caskets back. We are burying our people in foreign caskets. Yet there is no thinking around it. If you cannot bury your people with decency, what story are you telling to the child?
Yeah. And speaking of that, there's also another point that you often make also, maybe before we go for a break, Prof, which also the extravagance nature of our burials, people can no longer afford it. There has to be some live streaming now, there has to be a guy playing a piano, there has to be this, and there's this massive monetary contributions after the person has died from hunger. Suddenly there's money.
Yeah.
Again, if you can engage me on that.
It's a caricature of African dignity and history. Those of us who are over 40 would remember that when our parents die or would die, children did not go to the graveyard. There were no memorial services. Therefore, we have borrowed the wrong things from other people and we overdo it.
Yeah.
Ali Mazrui made this argument very strongly that we Africans have the habit of borrowing the wrong things. We borrow the culture of ostentation, showing off how much we have, but not the culture of production.
Yeah.
We borrow the culture of eating expensive food, but not growing the food. It goes as far as saying we borrowed the culture of wearing the most expensive wristwatches, but not the culture of watching the watch to be punctual. What do you have a watch for? Yeah? The burial and weddings are killing the little economy that we have in Namibia. These days, people get married and they have the gall to invite for gifts before they get married. It's your wedding. Why are you making it my problem? They say we need a fridge, and they send a shopping list to the community. And now, especially in the Northeast, oh Lord, the ceremony of the wedding is in at least 2 places. It's a wedding. Why don't you have it in one church, one celebration, or poor?
That's it.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
But now we overkill.
There's day 1, there's day 2.
Day 2.
And there's a tent for $70,000.
Which you never had before.
I mean, how did people our parents just got married decently?
Decently. A few people.
Yeah.
To go to burials. I've never seen this craziness anywhere in the world, not even in South Africa and Zimbabwe today. I die today and I'm kept in the fridge for 8 to 9, 10, 15 days. And every God's day, you, my family, must feed the crowd. You must feed the village. They don't cook anymore. That Kariakonomfa.
Yeah.
They're going to eat at the dead. And then comes the memorial service. Now I saw in Kavango, there are at least 3 memorial services. A family memorial service, a church memorial service, and the big one where the VIPs come. It's a burial. Those cultures that have resources, particularly the Jewish and the Arab, they bury the same day or a day before. No parties, no celebration, yet the money that they have continues to grow. Tatekul Pupkewitz died in 2012. He died on a Friday. They buried him on a Sunday. As a matter of fact, they wanted to bury him on a Saturday, but there were families coming from faraway lands that they waited for. He was a Jew, so they buried him on a Sunday. The casket was made in the yard of the house.
Wow.
There was no celebration. Our ministers showed up with speeches on yellow pages, and they were told, no, it's a family matter.
Yeah.
Burial is a family matter.
Yeah.
Weddings is a family matter. You can have friends, but please, they should not pay an extra tax because you are getting married or you have died.
Absolutely. Thank you. We are going on a very short break with Professor Diescho and return.
Missed the latest episode of Tourismus? Don't worry, Echo has you covered. Catch every travel adventure, insider industry news, and exciting destinations from Tourismus anytime, anywhere. Visit www.1up2.com and click on Echo to relive the journeys, rewind the adventures, replay the stories. Tourismus, where adventure meets prime time.
Our conversation with Professor Joseph Diescho continues on the agenda. Prof, engage me on the current state of affairs. We have a new government. People are saying, everybody's saying it's early days. It's slightly more than 4 months now. What do you make of those first 100 and something days so far? I know it's early days, but there ought to be some picture emerging.
There is a saying, you never get a second chance to make the first impression.
No, no.
And the reason why Americans emphasize the first 100 days is it's when you have the space to experiment, to explore, and test.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the time when people have the eagerness to watch you. After that, you are part of the routine. If you don't do it in the first 100 days, you may as well not do it. I have seen the pronouncements, the official pronouncement. I'm touched and impressed by what has been said. However, when you sit where I sit, in the enterprise of strategic studies, leadership studies, I would have expected to have seen more. One is very appreciative of the slogan, business unusual. I would have liked to see that getting more feet and getting momentum. I am not seeing enough of business unusual. There are signs and remnants of that. But when I cast my eyes on the landscape across the land and listen carefully to those who know better, who see more, who feel more, who experience more, I'm not as positive as I would have liked to be after the 100 days. Yeah. And I'm not casting aspersion on those who make decisions, but I expected more than what we have today.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the new administration has inherited a very bad state, a country in a very bad state. Unemployment very, very high, hunger is very high, and there is also neglect of of infrastructure, a lot of which has been actually inherited from the apartheid government. The foundation was already there, but when you had a soccer stadium, then you are told you no longer have a soccer stadium. When you had a Katotora hospital, and then you are told no, it's now rat infested. That's neglect. And business unusual for me ought to mean that you hit the ground running, like you say, that in those 100 days, you can't say, it's still early days.
Yeah.
There ought to be radical impressions coming out of that. How do we, as a country, and especially people like yourself, the luminaries, the thinkers of our society, do you have a role in society, as a matter of fact, or do you have to be part of the administration in the current dispensation for you to make an impact, to make your small contribution towards the well-being of the country?
The sad reality in Africa generally, in Namibia specifically, is that there is no room for thinkers. The ecosystem does not allow people to innovate and think creatively. Our system invites belonging. It's a choir culture. In a choir, you don't start inventing your own songs. You sing the hymn that exists.
You sing along.
Yeah, you sing along. One of the lethal wounds that colonialism has inflicted upon us is to fear difference. The Western world thrives on difference. It invites difference. That's what justifies, if you will, the phenomenon of Elon Musk, born in South Africa, being the most successful businessman in the United States. You would not have that in Africa. The Western world is organized around what they call in Greek chronological things. Yeah? This thing happens and then the next thing. There is evolution, there is movement. Therefore, if you invent something, I listen to you and I build upon that which you have. And I ask you, how did you get it right? Can we work together? Africa doesn't work like that. The African world is organized around Kairos, K-A-I-R-O-S, the moment, the event. Did the event happen or did it not happen? Now, in our case, we are all victims of independence. Independence happened, what else do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You must be grateful.
Yeah, you must be grateful. That's why our leaders would say, even those who lie about it, we liberated this country. We fought for this country. As a matter of fact, some of them would intimidate you to say, we died for this country. He's still alive. So the moment the event happened, therefore, our arrangement of who is important, who's not, who's relevant, who's not, is around the moment, the event of independence. Did you play a role in that? If you had a matron at school, yeah, who said something about independence that time, that's a hero. Yeah? We are victims of the dance of freedom. It handicaps all of us to move forward. It will take a revolution. It will take someone like this odd man in Burkina Faso to just say, to hell with the rules.
Yeah.
We're doing it differently. For now, in Namibia, if you cannot make claim that you or your parent or your grandfather or your children who are not yet born played in the role in the struggle for independence, you are nowhere. Yeah. Thinking doesn't matter. Yet, we count on other thinkers who are from different cultures to advise us. We don't value our own thinkers.
And that worries me, Prof. So for those of us who are in the media, I agitate a lot. And I think people a lot of times mistake that with me being anti this or anti that. I'm opposed to this. But I'm very passionate about what we have built so far as a country, the rights in particular that we have. Because we have a situation where if you are Joseph Diescho and you just make your input as a citizen to say, that is not right, that is not correct leadership, the response is exactly what you're saying. What are his credentials?
Yes.
What is his
where was he?
Yeah, where was he, you know? And when I was speaking a week ago about Minister Sankwasa and some of his recent actions, which I don't disagree with in principle, but when you sort of put the rule book aside and say, I'm going to do things my way, it's very, very scary. So we need to be guided by the rules for society to function. Have you followed some of the minister's pronouncements and actions recalling the entire Katima Mulilo Town Council? Maybe it was justified, but just your thoughts. Because he has been one of the busiest ministers, whether for the right reasons or wrong ones.
I have followed with great appreciation what my brother James Sankwasa is doing.
Yeah.
One can appreciate what he's doing. But I step back to say I am not appreciating James Sankwasa's activism as such. I'm really decrying the lack of systemic progress. 35 years later, there comes a minister and he sees something that has not been seen before. Is that what we're saying? Yeah. Do we need individual ministers to recreate the rules? Or is there a template by which we are governed? See, Germany is a very organized society. It's a philosophical society because there is a word in the German language, Zusammenhänge. Zusammen is together, hängen is hang, it's hang. Zusammenhänge. That systems work when there is a grid, when there is a pillar into which all systems go. In the absence of a Zusammenhänge, things fall apart and you will see ministers running their individual shows. In the end, you cannot recognize the government. It's very dangerous. There ought to be a template. Let's think big here. We have at the moment the weakest executive in Namibia compared to the previous ones. And it's not a fault of one person, it's a fault of the system. We have allowed an evolution of a dysfunctionality, if you will, that a president has more power than the state, than the government. That's not how states are run. For example, in the United States of America, Germany and other better functioning democracies, it is not up to the president to decide how many ministers there must be in the functioning of the state. It's a parliamentary ruling. The legislature decides in this system, this is the type of resource base we have. These are the threats we are facing. This is how we are growing. Therefore, we need 20 ministers. And the government, the parliament names them. If you go to the United States today, you have the same stationery that was used in Reagan's time, John Kennedy's time. You cannot afford to change stationery every 5 years. You cannot afford to run a state where decisions are at the whims of an individual or 2 or 3 people. So we lack a system that guides ministers to do their work. So it is not whether they are doing it right or wrong. We need to look for the system that influences what they are doing. That's why the church, the Catholic Church, is so solid. The Pope does not comment on things. He waits until the priests, the bishops, the archbishops, the cardinals have worked it out. And then he will receive a less than 10-page document after many, many years. So this is the church's position. And he consults a few people that do only work in the church. And he will say, yeah, this looks right. This is the position of the church. And he will put his stamp on it, the imprimatur of the Pope. And at the bottom of the Pope's stamp, it will say, Roma locuta est, causa finita. Rome has spoken. The case is closed.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Now, speaking of that individualization of key functions like that, I mean, we have a raging debate in the country right now about Jesus Hawala having passed away, and then the president, in her wisdom, thinks that this is a hero and must be accorded the state funeral, even if there's a moratorium right now. Do you think decisions like that must be communal at some level, or it's at the whims of those that are serving?
Toivo, I was hoping that you would not ask me this question, but I'm glad you did, because we have to deal with it as citizens.
Yeah.
We owe it to our grandchildren. We owe it to those who suffered before us. It's a pity Jesus died. It's a very bad moment for us as a nation to look at one another eyeball to eyeball. How do we react to this? It's unfortunate that it has evolved the manner in which it has evolved. It appears that there is some degree of insensitivity on the part of the president. I can understand completely where she's coming from. I will not judge her. What I can do from where I sit is apply the wisdom test. What would Solomon have done in this situation? It's very, very ugly. We know the history was vulgar. It was painful. There are still hundreds of Namibians not knowing where their loved ones are. We cannot ignore that. Therefore, the wisdom test says, what does wisdom require in a moment like this? Now, I had the privilege to work with Nelson Mandela and others. And when I was thinking about you asking me this, I was asking myself, what would Nelson Mandela do? I know, I have a pretty good idea what Nelson Mandela would do, because he would apply the wisdom test. First, he would not speak about it. First day, second day, third day, even eighth day. He would allow the society to debate it. He would collate the feelings, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and put that into his own feelings and thought processes. I know that Mandela would have kept quiet. Because it's too ugly to get involved. You don't want to implicate the state in it, because the state belongs to all, including those who are hurting. The state has to show empathy, not only to the victor, to the victims. And I know in my heart that Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela would have stayed clear of it. However, he would have said, I am the head of state, I'm still a South African, I'm part of the movement. This man did what he did to the best of his abilities. Yes, mistakes were made, people are hurting. As a human being, I will attend his burial in his village. But I cannot sign off state resources to bury him, because that is being one-sided. That's saying you are only celebrating his good. You forget those who are hurting. You show no empathy to those who are hurting. I would have expected, under the circumstances, therefore, that the statement that was released by the presidency declaring how this should unfold, I would have expected at least a sentence or two acknowledging the pain of those who are still crying. And that hurts, that there was no acknowledgement of the pain and the anguish of many people. At the same time, the reason that a person like Mandela would keep quiet is the knowledge that it was a war. The acknowledgement and appreciation that there is no way apartheid would not have sent spies. Apartheid sent spies. At my school, Rundu Secondary School, I knew of friends, schoolmates who were recruited to go and hurt SWAPO leaders. I was recruited myself. Thank God I was saved by the bishop, because I went to the priest and said, this is what's happening to me. And they said, don't go. Just keep telling us who's. I know the names. What if there was no church to help me steer clear of it? There was big money
Yeah.
Poverty was deep. In the old Namibia, Kavango in particular, in the 80s, you would not have five families without 2 Kofut members. It was a source of livelihood and income. Therefore, if it was so ugly here, I completely understand why there was a reaction on the part of SWAPO when they discovered that they were true spies.
Yeah.
They went too far. Paranoia set in and they just overreacted. Like in any war, writers would tell me that in a war, where there is a war and it ends, nobody's hands are clean.
Yeah.
With the case of Jesus, may his soul rest in peace if there is peace left. But he went too far.
Yeah.
Those who knew him should celebrate him as an individual. But a hero in the manner that we want to build a narrative of heroism and sheroism in Namibia, he can wait.
Wonderful. The last topic that I wanted to pick your brain on, also making a lot of headlines in recent days, Professor. We have a situation around, Sisa Namanje. It's public information now. People are saying Mr. Sisa Namanje is a SWAPO Politburo member and Central Committee member. SWAPO stands against certain things like corruption, and therefore he could not. It can't be right that he's in court defending the Enekan Namcor corruption accused people because it goes against the. And some say, but as a defense lawyer, Cesar Namanje will always defend people accused by the state of crime, whether it's rape, buggery, or whatever it is. Just what has been your thought to that issue? Is there conflict there?
There's a conflict even in me.
Yeah.
My first degree was law.
Yeah.
I lost interest in law. I understand the general malaise around Sister Namanje. Again, he should not be a member of the Politburo and Central Committee. He was never elected. He was wheelbarrowed in there arbitrarily. That's wrong. Our system should not have that. We should really root out the idea that people become leaders by invitation. They should be elected. So that already puts him in a very, very clumsy light. He was very vociferous in the campaign. I understand that. But he should not overplay his hand as a leader of the Namibian people, because a leader he is not. A lawyer, yes. I cannot take away from him the liberty to defend a case in a court of law. But he cannot play both roles at the same time. So I think, therefore, the onus, ONUS, is on Sister Namanje himself to examine his own moral fiber and say, am I honest enough to defend this cause?
Yeah.
I smell a conflict of interest. From my perfunctory reading of his involvement with fish rot and others, if we had a muscular law society in Namibia, he ought to have been barred from practicing law for at least 5 years, so that he can clean his name. At the moment, he's a leper in the law society. He should handle other cases, but not state corruption.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He's invested in it.
Yeah, I understand. I think I have 1 minute left, Professor. The question is, the last question released now is that you are a son of this land. You left the country some years ago because you felt hounded out of the country. You felt threatened in some ways. You are now living in Germany, although you come home time and again. Is the feeling still the same under the new dispensation, or are there now pockets of thinking that sooner rather than later you are coming back home?
I don't know what the thinking is on the side of the leadership. It's not the same as it was before 2024. Remember, my circumstances were official. It was not as a result of crime that I've committed or a breach of employment contract. It was the head of state who declared me enemy of the state. And from that moment, a fatwa, as it were, was placed on my head. I lost my friends. People were terrified to be associated with me. You're one of the people who take my call at the time. My high school friends blocked me. I could not find an attorney to defend my case. Namibia is very small. When the head of state injects fear into the hearts of people, it's very difficult to get over it. However, it changed, particularly beginning of this year. For some reason, I was in the country to be part of the funeralization of Tatekulu Nyoma. And the moment President Ngolo Mbumba permitted me to say something publicly, the fatwa was lifted. Now my friends are coming back. I am not certain whether the political leadership is in a space of accommodating all of us as Namibians. I'm not sure yet. There are still many of us who are considered less Namibian than others, and it will take time. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for the peace and the stability that is there, but there's not enough room for all of us.
Yeah.
It will take time. I pray to God that the young people will not suffer the fate that some of us have suffered. Because this country belongs to all of us.
Absolutely. No, Prof, it was a pleasure talking to you, really.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing very vibrant views on a variety of issues. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is Professor Joseph Diescho, of course, speaking to us, just walking us through so many topics, giving us his intellectual input. Thank you for watching.